Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're running a highly practical exam-ready boot camp covering two absolutely critical activity ratios: inventory turnover and days sales and inventory. Look, whether you're actively grinding for your CPA exams or you just want a really rock-solid understanding of how efficiently a business actually manages its stock, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to cut through the noise today and focus strictly on the mechanics, the real-world interpretation, and of course, the hidden traps of these two metrics. Here's our roadmap for the session. We'll kick things off with the core inventory ratios. Then we'll decode the variables behind the math, interpret the numbers, run through some real-world scenario analysis, and wrap it all up by exposing the most common candidate errors. Let's just dive right in. All right, section 1, core inventory ratios. Let's get our quantitative foundation set with the exact definitions you need to know. So what is inventory turnover, really? Well, it's the number of times in a given year that a company completely converts its total balance of inventory into cash or receivables. Basically, it gives us a precise multiple of how often a company clears out its shelves and turns that physical stock into revenue over the course of a year. It's a pure efficiency metric. The higher this number, generally speaking, the more times you are successfully flipping your inventory. Then we have our second vital metric: days sales and inventory. Sometimes you'll hear this called the inventory conversion period. This is simply the average number of days that pass between the actual acquisition of the inventory and its eventual sale. So it takes that turnover multiple we just talked about and translates it into a timeline that's incredibly easy to visualize. It literally tells you how many days a product just sits there on a warehouse shelf, gathering dust before a customer finally buys it. Moving right along to section 2, decoding variables. Memorizing formulas is one thing, but to really master this, we have to understand the why behind the inputs. And this right here is where so many people trip up. When you're calculating inventory turnover, you might instinctively want to use sales or revenue as the numerator. Do not do it. We have to strictly use cost of goods sold. Why? Because it's an apples-to-apples match with the underlying valuation of the inventory itself. Remember, inventory sits on the balance sheet at its cost. If you use sales in the numerator, you're including the profit markup, right? That creates an artificial mismatch that's going to totally inflate your ratio. So always compare cost to cost. As for the denominator, we use average inventory. That's the beginning balance plus the ending balance divided by 2. The absolute crucial point to remember here is that turnover metrics span an entire accounting period. They aren't just a single snapshot in time. Cost of goods sold builds up over a full 12 months. So if you only divide by the ending inventory balance on December 31st, you're comparing a full year of massive activity against what is essentially a single-day snapshot. Using a simple average smooths all of that out and is theoretically just so much more sound for your analysis. Okay, section 3, interpreting turnover and days. Let's shift away from the textbook math and step into some real CPA-level analysis by exploring what these numbers actually tell us about a business. Consider the data we have from Amy's Market. This is a brilliant illustration of efficiency. If you look at year 5 in their data, you see these amazing high turnover rates across multiple locations. That implies the firm is moving product incredibly fast and isn't holding on to excess or obsolete stock. Generally, high turnover is fantastic. It means less of your capital is tied up sitting in a warehouse, you've got lower storage costs, and way less risk of your items expiring or going out of style. Conversely, let's flip that and look at it through the lens of time. Days, sales, and inventory is literally the very first step of the cash conversion cycle. A longer duration here, meaning a higher number of days, means it takes more time to convert that physical asset back into cash. In the Amy's Market example, we actually saw this number creep up from roughly 19 days in year 5 to almost 22 days in year 6, so their cash is suddenly trapped on the shelves for an extra 3 days. But hold on, before we judge a ratio as purely good or bad, we absolutely have to remember that a company's chosen inventory valuation method, stuff like LIFO or FIFO, can seriously distort these outcomes. This is especially true when inflation is running hot. Think about it. If an economy has high inflation and a company uses LIFO, last in, first out, their cost of goods sold is going to look much higher because it reflects recent expensive inventory. Meanwhile, their balance sheet inventory stays low, reflecting older, cheaper stock. That creates an artificially massive turnover ratio. The big takeaway? You literally cannot compare the inventory efficiency of a LIFO company to a FIFO company without adjusting the numbers first. Let's jump into section 4, scenario analysis. Because in financial evaluation, context is quite literally everything. You see, a lower turnover isn't automatically a giant red flag. Sure, obsolete inventory lowers turnover, and that genuinely represents poor efficiency. But a dip could also be a strategic defensive move. If management is terrified about global supply chain issues, they might intentionally stockpile materials, right? Or a lower turnover can actually be a totally natural buildup of stock during a period of rapidly growing sales. They might just be preparing for a massive upcoming quarter. You always have to read the actual story behind the ratio. Finally, Section 5, Common Candidate Errors. Let's wrap up this bootcamp by highlighting the biggest danger zones so you can secure your exam performance.
Listen close because you do not want to fall into these 3 traps. Number 1, using sales instead of cost of goods sold. Remember, cost to cost. Number 2, ignoring average inventory and getting lazy by just grabbing the year-end balance. Always average it for period metrics. And number 3, assuming that every single change in the ratio is solely due to operational efficiency. As we just saw, you have to look at the broader business context, like a rapid expansion or a supply chain defense strategy.
So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to really test your understanding. If a company suddenly switches from FIFO to LIFO during a period of heavy inflation, what happens to their apparent efficiency on paper, even if literally nothing changed in how they run their warehouses? Think about how simple accounting policies can completely mask reality. Keep studying, rely on the framework we built here today, and we'll see you next time.